In Climate Watch, a small reef off the coast of Georgia may provide a glimpse into what the rest of the ocean is facing as global warming continues to heat up the waters. Gray's Reef has been protected by the U.S. government for more than 40 years and provides scientists with a unique look at how to safeguard oceans. But with only 6% of the ocean being protected, Gray's Reef may not be safe from the impacts of climate change after all. So Associated Press reporter Patrick Whittle took a trip off the coast of Georgia and wrote about the dangers the ocean is facing. And he joins us now via Skype. Thank you so much for joining us, Patrick. So let's talk about Gray's Reef. What are scientists finding there?
One of the key things that scientists are finding in Gray's Reef is that tropical species are moving north as the ocean warms. Species of fish and species of seaweed that normally are found in places like the Caribbean are now, and in the Gulf of Mexico, are now being found much farther north off of Georgia. And that's something that's very concerning as the ocean continues to warm.
So why is that concerning? What does it mean when you have species of fish that normally are not in a certain area moving further north into areas that you don't normally find them?
It's concerning for a number of reasons. One is because of the impact on the marine food chain, because some of these species have their ecological niche in specific parts of the ocean where they serve as food for whales or for larger fish. And if they begin to vacate their sort of more traditional habitats, it can really sort of disrupt the ocean food chain, and that can be dangerous for jeopardized species like whales, sea turtles, species of tuna that are very economically important, sharks, things like that.
Totally. So what is the biggest threat facing these protected habitats, and how are they being safeguarded?
Well, that's where things get even more complicated, because the biggest threat is warming oceans and climate change. And that's something that's very difficult to protect using marine protected areas, because marine protected areas are designed essentially to kind of rope off areas of the sea and prevent industries like commercial fishing, bottom trawling, seismic testing, things like that. Fossil fuel exploration, things like that from happening, and those are things that are very important to protect the ocean. But at the same time, the biggest driver is the burning of fossil fuels and greenhouse gases, and how that contributes to the warming of the ocean. And preventing that is much more difficult.
Of course, I can totally understand that. You mentioned commercial fishing, and I think a lot of people might be more familiar with the impacts of commercial fishing, perhaps the impact on the fishing industry as a whole. But how serious of a problem is commercial fishing when it comes to these protected areas?
Good question. Commercial fishing can be a problem in these areas because of things like impacts to the ocean bottom, if we're talking about bottom trawling for certain kinds of species. It's also a problem for bycatch when, say, one species like maybe shrimp is being targeted, but the nets also catch marine mammals and rare species of fish and things like that. So certainly commercial fishing does have an impact. It also has a great economic value, and it's very important for food security. So balancing the importance of commercial fishing with its impact on the environment is very, very tricky, and marine protected areas have played a role in that for several decades.
So you've got global warming, which you say hands down is sort of the biggest threat and sort of the biggest challenge, because it's not just about the oceans, it's about our entire environment. And then you mentioned some other things like commercial fishing, like drilling. And I presume that you can at least limit that by creating more protected areas like Gray's Reef. But how many protected areas? If there's a percentage, what's the percentage of the ocean that would need to be covered to actually have an impact?
The United Nations would like to see us reach 10%. Right now, we're in the neighborhood of 6%. And the UN has a goal to reach 10% by next year, which is very ambitious, but the UN believes that it's attainable.
I mean, it sounds like it's not a lot. It sounds like it should be attainable. Anything that you and I can do, what can regular people do?
Regular people are pretty far detached from marine protected areas because these mostly exist in very remote corners of the ocean where most people will never go and will never see. But at the same time, activism in favor of marine protected areas takes place on the land. So there are all kinds of ways that people can get involved in advocating for MPAs if they believe that this is something that can be a key benefit to protecting the ocean.
All right, Patrick Whittle, thank you so much.